So, walk me through the decision making process for your typical company that is you guys saying we've got lots of data. Does it start with them having a very specific question? We need to be able to answer this question on a regular basis. Or is it we need to make sense out of a we don't know? Talk to me through like at what point does someone say, yeah, it's time to pull all of this information together, and the people we've got back at the office spend way too much time manually
Yeah.
pulling it together?
Yeah. And a lot of it depends on just where they're at in their journey. There are definitely stepping stones that we see where customers start to hit breaking points. So for someone operating a kiosk, for example, it's manageable if you have 15 locations and they're all in the same geographic area, and you can just try to keep those up and running and know the status of them by brute force throwing, personnel at that and overstaffing to ensure that someone's just manually checking on that device, whether they're logging in remotely or actually going to that location to see how it's operating. Once you get to 100 locations, that just doesn't work. There's just not enough time in the day. It's not cost efficient to be able to do that. And then certainly as you get to 500 or 1,000 locations, now you're geographically diverse across whatever territory that you're trying to roll this out to. You need to have better visibility into the health of those devices. For some customers, they're just transitioning into an environment where they're in an unattended mode, or maybe they've had a retail experience before, but now they're transitioning to an unattended type of device where they don't have someone there that can just unplug the device and plug it back in and, okay, now I'm good. That's where we work with them to understand, okay, first, what you need to do is have visibility into this. You need to know what the health of your fleet is so that you're not getting calls from a frustrated customer before they do that there's something wrong, and you can start the process to get that back up and running. Provide the visibility first. Then let's get sophisticated about what it is that we're monitoring. What does healthy mean? And like I said before, it's not always just the computer's on, it's connected, and the CPU is fine. It's what's the overall health of that system based on all the key components that are required to actually perform that customer transaction. And then we've done a lot of work to build in what we call IoT automations, which is a low code, no code type of environment that allows our customers to get really sophisticated about the alerts that they're receiving and automate some of those actions. If I receive this error message that my software experienced this specific type of error, I know that, the resolution, because I have my support technicians do this all the time. They remotely log in, they delete this file, they rebuild this database, and then they restart the unit and it's back up and running. Let's automate that with our agent so that if I see this, we'll perform those actions on that target machine. We will then wait to make sure that the KPIs or the health statistics that we're receiving from that agent now say that error condition is no longer there. And then in the meantime, we've opened a ticket in their help desk, updated that ticket after we performed that action, and then closed that ticket for the customer. So you can imagine the amount of efficiency that you get from just having that system just watching that and trying to automatically resolve.
This reminds me of some of the QA automation like Selenium and some of these programs that just run scripts and giving you the all clear. I know a lot of firmware that I've developed in the past, in the boot up process goes through a quick little check, check that, check that, check that, check that. If not, then send up a flag knowing that we're going to fail at that point. How often do you pull in additional sources of information outside of just that kiosk? But would there be other environmental conditions or additional sensing that you would have?
Yeah. Well, and that's another component of the design of the system is just the extensibility of it. Like we talked about, the more data you have, the better your decision making is going to be. And if you know that the temperature in that location is 120 degrees in Arizona, and that's a warning condition for the components that aren't hardened enough to be able to operate in that environment, that's helpful information. Pulling in weather data, if it's a scheduling, seasonality type information, going back to Redbox, the day before Thanksgiving was always a peak rental day for us. So starting to understand previous trends of what we're going to expect, how much we should stock, and then knowing from a transactional standpoint, a capacity management, what we need to gear up for just by pulling in historical data. In our systems now with Banyan, I think a lot of the benefit that we bring is customers have the ability to take their business data and marry that to the operational data so that it's not just a point in time, like here's the operational health, but layer on the impact of if my system is down at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday and I operate a kiosk in, I don't know, a Walgreens location, it's probably not doing a lot of business right then, or the store may even be closed. So the severity of that type of issue isn't as high as if it's a Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock, where that's peak business hours for, that application. Again, it's just marrying a lot of the data and understanding what are the core KPIs or what are the core sets of data that will allow you to prioritize and understand ultimately the service level that you're providing to your customers and prioritize and automate the outcomes of that based on that information.